Okay, so folks, you're very, very welcome along this evening to the first of our Elevate community webinars. This is a short program of webinars and supports aimed at helping people involved in the running of any kind of a community centre, parish hall, clubhouse, scout den, any kind of a community facility. And our focus this evening is on energy, and energy being one of the biggest costs for anybody running and involved in the running of a centre, and also one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases. So my name is Micheál O'Kyle. I'm the Community Climate Action Officer in Waterford City and County Council. My role is mainly to manage the Department of the Environment's Community Climate Action Programme, which fortunately involves giving lots of money to community groups all across the county. Last year we allocated 550,000, and two of the groups that got some of that money are here this evening to explain how they've used that money to improve energy efficiency and save costs in their own community. On top of that, then we've two more presenters to go through some of the detail, some of the other routes of getting support, some of the other grants, some of the other ways of approaching saving energy and even generating more energy through solar or wind or different approaches like that. So for this evening then, one moment now, I'm just going to stop sharing the screen there. So this evening we have four presenters, and first up will be Seamus Kearney. Seamus is going to explain how their community has used the Community Climate Action Fund, but specifically how they've applied that to make savings of costs, make savings of greenhouse gases, and actually to be at a point where they're an electricity generator. So over to you, Seamus.
Thank you very much, Micheál. Can you see the screen there? Am I okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So look, I suppose we started a fairly substantial project above with Ballysaggart GA just 4 years ago. And at this stage, we're about 3 weeks away from actually opening the doors officially, where we've actually built a new clubhouse, spending in the region of about 900,000 in total on the project. And I suppose one of the things we always looked at was how are we going to be sustainable and keep the cost running. And I suppose, look, after completing the new clubhouse, we had great insulation between the walls, the roof, the doors, and double glazed windows. And when we do a new build, we made a conscious decision to try and avoid fossil fuels where possible. So we have 3 heat pumps in the building. This one here does 5 heaters within the building for us. This one here is doing ventilation, air conditioning in a new gym we've put in. And we have a 3rd heat pump in for underfloor heating and to heat the water for our dressing rooms. So really, we always had anticipated trying to generate our own power and reduce our bills to look at the solar and I suppose to complement what we were doing and to reduce the running costs. So really, I suppose we were on the lookout, and I see Muriel is on the call here. I think the news we get from the Waterford PPN network are just invaluable. They've been worth about 200,000 to us as a club. We got through them in a fine comb, and we spotted the Waterford City and County Council Climate Action Fund back in the autumn of 2023. And I must say, Micheál have been invaluable, his connection there, and Susan Lee as well. And we attended a training day. It was a half day of a Saturday morning at Kilmacthomas at the time. And we said, look, this is something that could actually apply to us as a GA club. So we applied to the fund in January 2024. We were approved in May 2024. We installed our solar in September 2024. We actually installed a solar, would you believe it, before we actually had the power connected to the. And we commissioned the solar on the 16th of January this year. And you can see here from our drone footage, we have 40 panels on the roof. So there is 7 lines of 4 panels going this direction. And we have 12 going along the top then as well. So 28 and 12, 44 panels in total. We went for a European panel. I suppose most of the panels are normally Chinese. And the panels are coming up to 16.8 kilowatts in total on the roof. As well as that, then we applied for 2 5-kilowatt batteries. So we produce the power during the day and we use it from the batteries at night time. So we're staying off the grid pretty much a fair bit of the time. And this is the brains of the operation here. We're on 3-phase electricity. So it's a 3-phase, and we have a 10-kilowatt inverter. And this really is the limitation here, even though we have 16.8 kilowatts on the roof. Even with today, we were limited about 10.5 kilowatts. It's what the inverter can actually handle. And basically then, to follow up even further again, we spotted a Climate Action Engagement Fund, a fund of £1 million that will be given out nationally. And we applied for €10,000 and were successful. And for that, we got an education screen, cost about €1,100 in the building, shows the power being used and where it's going within the building. We have been set up for a kind of a multimedia system as well in our meeting room. And for that, we've committed to 2 major events, one for sports clubs primarily in County Waterford. And I said to Micheál, when we're doing that, we will notify ourselves. Anyone wants to come along to see what we've done is more than welcome. And I suppose the screen here is showing that the solar power being generated, what's been used in the building, how much is going to and from the battery, and what we're actually exporting then as well. And I suppose the big one, from our point of view was when we got approved, first of all, it was about 23,500 we were approved for the Climate Action Grant. And when we went back to do our second round of tenders, our prices, we had no problem getting tenders, plenty of interest. The cost was coming out of 21,500 plus VAT, and we got 100% grant, which was phenomenal from our point of view. So really, we're sucking electricity out of the sun at this stage. And we actually went with a local company, CC Renewables, to put up the panels and to connect our system then for us. So really, I suppose to bring it back into context, we're producing power now at 152 days. We're charged 31 cents for every kilowatt of energy we use, and we're with Electric Ireland, so we're paid 21 cents per kilowatt for every extra kilowatt we produce. As of yesterday, we had 5,041 kilowatts produced, so that's worth €1,080 to our club. Roughly about €7 of electricity per day is what we're producing at this stage. We reckon if we keep going the way we're going, we're looking at about 2,000 to 2,500 of a bill it's going to save us, and it'll pretty much nearly sustain the building for us. And I suppose Micheál was just saying there, look, it's roughly the equivalent of about 12 tons of emissions. The equivalent of taking 2.5 cars off the road really is what we're looking at. And I suppose from our point of view, we were pretty much on this journey as well over 2 years ago. We hadn't a clue what we were doing at that stage. But the Climate Action Fund has been a huge assistance along the way, the 100% funding, and it should make our building an awful lot more sustainable going forward as well. And it's a 7,200 square foot building. It's a fairly substantial building, but we reckon with what we put up there now at this stage that we should be fairly sustainable going forward. So I think that's my bit, Micheál, that covers, I think, most of what you wanted to cover.
Yeah, Seamus, absolutely, and full credit to you there for everything you've done along the way. Ours was the easy bit. We just had to give you the money, but you made great use of it, and huge credit to you on all of that.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, as being a sports club is something we looked at. First of all, we were applicable for the fund or not, and I suppose it's looking to be imaginative of how you can maybe use the funds that are out there to try and better what we're trying to do in the first place.
And this is it's a good point to mention that the next round of the Community Climate Action Programme is expected to be launched in September. We expect to have another 500,000 plus available for communities across the county, and it's very much for making a difference. It's for helping communities to be a bit more resilient, helping them to be more climate active. And the bottom line in all this is that communities that apply climate funding in all the different ways, whether it's through energy or some of the other ideas we'll see next week in terms of biodiversity or kit swaps or all the different other things, putting in a number of clubs have put in kind of bicycle shelters and bicycle parking to encourage and enable youngsters to cycle rather than coming in the car. All of these things are to the benefit of communities. So look, Seamus, thank you very, very much. And we're going to go on now to Ernan, who is going to tell us how they use their funding. And again, it's another aspect of how we approach energy use. In this case, Seamus told us about the new build. Ernan is going to share their story now with an older building and how work can be done on it to make it more efficient, to save money down the line. And Ernan, I'll pass it over to you now.
Thanks, Micheál, and thanks, Seamus. I presume you can hear me all right. So yes, my name's Ernan O'Cleary. I'm from the Causeway Tenants and Bowls Club in Dungarvan. And we're going to talk a bit about our energy saving and retrofitting works. Actually, we have a very similar story to the one that Seamus just laid out. Let's move this on. So the Causeway Tennis and Bowls Club, to those of you who are familiar with Dungarvan, you probably know where it is. It's on the causeway right in front of the harbour, a high profile setting in the middle of the town. As Micheál said, our building is pre-existing. And actually, this is the view of from the tennis courts to the clubhouse. And as you can see, there's a one-story structure on the left. This was the original building of the tennis club when it first opened in the 80s. And then to the right, there was a ground floor built in the 90s. And then in 2011, a second floor was installed, giving a view out over the courts and another view, very nice, out over the harbour. What we were trying to do, like Seamus referred to, we're trying to reduce our energy costs and reduce our carbon footprint. So our major areas of energy expenditure are the lighting. There's 5 courts, so a significant amount of lighting, 35 kilowatts under the old system. It's less now with the LEDs that we're using. And then heating as well. So those two, obviously, the two major energy costs. We wanted to reduce the amount of energy we were drawing off the grid, and similarly start producing energy for export to the grid, and increase the energy efficiency of our building. So the main part of the energy efficiency increasing was in the old building, the one-story piece part to the left, which didn't have any heating system of its own. And it was poorly insulated. So we wanted to retrofit insulation in that building and install an air-to-water heat pump system for heating the water for the showers and the changing rooms, and for space heating in that building as well. If we look at the other side of the building, this is the front. So from the harbour, looking at the building, you can see the solar panels we've installed along the roof. There are also some on the roof of the one-story building as well. In total, actually, very similar capacity to the one that Seamus referred to. We have about 16.8 kilowatt generating capacity, and we have a 4 or 5 kilowatt hour batteries storage as well. So similarly to Seamus described, what we're trying to do is to store battery power from the solar panels to use at night for the lighting, and also to use excess generation for exporting to the grid. One thing I would say is we have a 3-phase electricity supply. So if you are applying with a 3-phase electricity supply, you need to make sure that it is you can get a meter which will account for your exports to the grid. At the moment, none are available, and it'll probably be next year before it is possible to have a good accounting of how much you're exporting. So we are currently exporting, and we get some credit, but when the new meters are installed, we will get a much more accurate estimate, which will be a larger amount for us. So the air-to-water heat pump, the external unit of it, you can just see it on the side of on the right-hand side of the upper floor there, just below that satellite dish. That's the only thing that is external on the heat pump. The heat pump unit itself is here installed inside the building. That's the water tank for the showers and changing rooms, and the space heater boiler is on the left. We also put in new doors and windows in the old part of the building high-grade double glazed doors and windows in the building. So basically that's what we did. Just to talk a bit about the process that we went through. Again, similarly to Seamus's, we applied to the for funding under the Community Climate Action Fund administered by Waterford County Council. The first step we took was to get an energy audit of our building done, and that was done by the South Eastern Energy Agency. And this gave us an assessment of the potential we had for energy savings and the payback periods. And that was quite important because some things we could have done would have seemed like a good idea, upgrading some of our windows. But when we actually got an assessment done of the savings, it wasn't actually worthwhile doing it. Some of the things would have taken 50, 60 years for payback, but other ones had paybacks of much shorter periods of time. So it was very useful from that point of view in terms of selecting what specific works we wanted. So we got from that a quantified technical justification for the project and a specification of the works that were needed. So it was very useful input and support from Southeastern Energy Agency. So we went out and we got quotations. 3 quotations we got for all of the works. And again, they were obtained for us by the Southeast Energy Agency. And they got quotations for all of the works that we had in mind. So the solar panels, the battery system, the retrofitting of insulation, and the installation of the air-to-water heat pump for space and water heating. So we got 3 quotations, each of them from a single contractor, and I'll come back to that later on. With the grant application, we did through an online submission process, which actually was very straightforward and very easy, worked very well. That was done in January 2024. We had provided some clarifications a couple of months later in March, and we got approval in June 2024 and went into implementation pretty much immediately. So in the period from July to September, we installed and commissioned the solar panel system, and we undertook enabling works as well. So these enabling works, when we actually tried to commission the new system, we found that there were significant issues with our existing electrical installation, which needed to be rectified for the system to work properly, and that was additional work. In October to December, we installed the air-to-water heat pump, and we had the roof space in the old building insulated. Now, I think there are some significant lessons that we learned in that process of implementation. The first one would be to shop around in terms of your quotations. We went initially for quotations from single contractors for the whole range of works. Actually, when we as a result of the procurement guidelines, we were required to get additional quotations. We had got 3 initially, but in fact, because of the size of the works, we needed 5. So we went out looking for more quotations, and we went to more specialized contractors and broke up the work into solar panels on one hand, insulation on another hand, air heat pump into different packets, and we actually made significant savings. So for example, on the solar panel, we managed to reduce the costs from 41,000 euros to 29,000 euros, which gave a very significant budget saving. And out of that, we were able to finance the enabling works that were required and still have money, still have funding left over. On the heat pump installation, we managed to save about 5,000 on that. So shopping around is really worthwhile, and actually, rather than going to general contractors for doing all of your works, it's probably better to go to specialized contractors. The other thing to say is that in terms of the application process for the grant, and then for reporting as well, try and get all your information electronically and keep it electronically. So all your quotations, all your budgeting, all your reporting, your planning, all of that, keep that, photographs, keep it all electronically. It makes it very easy for doing the submissions because both the application process and the reporting processes are online. The other thing I would say is keep the climate action team in the council, keep them informed about what you're doing. They are very responsive and very flexible and are quite open to discussing issues and coming and visiting and looking for solutions. I have to say, compared to other grant bodies, I think the County Council has been the easiest to deal with, the most flexible and the fastest responding. The reason you see nothing, apropos of that, the reason you see nothing from January this year in the implementation periods this year is because we managed to blend part of our retrofitting work with a grant from the Sports Capital Grant in order to refurbish entirely our changing rooms and our showers. But the installation part of that is funded from the Community Climate Action Fund. But the other works like the plumbing and the finishing works, they're all funded from the Sports Capital Grant. But we actually, it has taken us over 6 months to get approval from quotation stage through the Sports Capital Grant. So there are opportunities to blend, but just watch out for your timelines. We will still be finished well within the timeline of the Community Climate Action Programme, which is December this year. So thank you very much.
Excellent, Ernon. Thank you very much for that. And as you said, we certainly, as the Climate Action Team, we do our very best to be responsive and supportive. And for anybody who does find himself thinking about applying for the next round of the programme, we're here and ready to chat and advise and look forward to being able to help people with their applications. Okay, so now we've had 2 excellent examples there of applying climate action and energy saving. So now we're going to move on to Michael Kinchla, who is going to give a good overview. We're giving him 15 minutes, plenty of time now. Good overview of the types of grants and supports that are available. And in all of this, I would ask people to think about what's possible. Don't get hung up on the grants. Don't get hung. Yes, there's a great amount of money and support available there, but often it's as Ernon pointed out, you know, assessing what you need in the first place and things like that are often some of the most valuable things that you can do. And with such short payback periods, if you're not fortunate enough to access grant support, there will often be solutions there that will be very viable within your own community anyway. So I'll pass you over now to Michael Kinchla. Away you go.
Thanks, Michal. Good evening, everybody. I hope you can see my screen there. Is it sharing okay? Everybody happy? First of all, my name is Michael Kinchla. I'm the project delivery lead for the Southeast Energy. I look after all the non-domestic projects. Just to tell you a little bit about who we are, the Southeast Energy Agency covers the 4 counties of Waterford, Kilkenny, Wexford and Carlow. We are a non-for-profit supplier independent organisation. We're a trusted intermediary. We work for all sectors, which are public sectors, communities like yourselves, residential, SMEs, farmers and every energy user. That's all of us here tonight. And we support everyone to deliver energy and climate transition across the Southeast. First thing I'd say to you, our abbreviation is SEEA. We are not SEAI. A lot of people get hung up on that. We are a project coordinator for the SEAI grant scheme. Okay, so what can we offer for you? Ernan spoke already about an audit. I think an audit is the pathway that everyone should go down, because without a good energy audit, you don't have a business plan of how to improve your energy. So we can offer a delivery package. Ernan spoke about us tendering for works. So we offer a bit of a package here. We offer a discounted audit and project management based on 5% of the capital cost of your energy upgrade works. If you haven't got an energy audit with us, our standard charge is 8% of the capital cost. So what do? We look after the tendering, the procurement through our DPS, which is a dynamic purchasing system, where we have a database of SEEI registered contractors. We upload all the relevant Q&A docs for SEEI, and believe you me, there is loads. Ernan spoke about heat pumps. If you were to get a grant for a heat pump from SEEI, there's over 12 Q&A docs that SEEI require, and they're just doing all their due diligence and making sure that everything ticks the boxes, that if there is any retribution at a later stage, that we have the wherewithal to go back on it. And we make the payment claim through the portal, and we get your money, which is very important as well. So I suppose the first support I'm going to talk to you about is a support scheme for energy audits. Some of you might qualify for this, some of you mightn't. If you're in the process, or if you are already a CLG, some community centres are CLGs, a company limited guarantee, you will apply for this. So there's a €2,000 voucher available from SEEI to help you with an energy audit. In most cases, this will cover the total cost of the energy audit. The application is very simple. It's done on their portal. I can send you a link of how to do it. It's based on your MPRN number. Now the criteria, what do you need to do to be eligible? Well, you need to be a non-obligated party. In other words, the likes of the local authority, gambling casinos, vaping shops, or tattoo parlors actually don't qualify for it. You need to be tax compliant. You need to be registered in the Republic of Ireland. So your CLG needs to be registered in the Republic of Ireland. And here's the carrot. You need to spend at least 10,000 on energy. That's thermal and electrical within a calendar year. So transport is not taken into account on this. And there is a limit of 1 energy audit per applicant or company. And if you're going on that portal and you're looking for an energy auditor, I'd ask you to pick us. Our registration number is there. Our senior energy engineer, Alex Hamilton, is the person you pick, and we are the Three Counties Energy Agency. We're listed as Three Counties Energy Agency. We took on Waterford there 2 years ago, so we morphed into the Southeast Energy Agency. I talked to you about some of the grants, and it was interesting to listen to Seamus and Ernan with their experiences, but look, we'll talk through the solar. I mean, solar is probably the low-hanging fruit, and it's something I think all community centres should look at. Without going into the technicalities, there is some barriers. I think, Ernan, you touched on it. I'll talk to you maybe about some of the barriers, but I'll give you the good news first, and then we'll talk about the barriers. So what grant funding is available? So if you can see the scale here, up to 6 kilowatts, there's 2,400. And if you go up to a 20 kilowatt system, there's 300 additional euros per kilowatt that you add on to that. Likewise, then if you go over 21, there's 200 euros per additional kilowatt. So you can go up to a maximum size of 1,000 kilowatts of power. Now, I suppose a lot of you in community centres have large roofs, and you might think that, you know, the answer is to fill the roof with solar. But just be careful that your MIC, which is the power that's coming into your community centre, that dictates what you can sell back to the grid. Now, Ernan did speak about the smart meter, and that's something I think that we have to all lobby on here together. Seamus has had the experience of a new build, so he's 3-phase power, so he got a smart meter straight away. But ESB networks are not rolling out 3-phase smart meters yet. They've promised to do it this year. There's a bit of a delay. Supposedly, Storm Aeon caused a slow rollout of smart meters. So people that have 3-phase power are not getting actually their true sellback tariff. They're just getting an estimated tariff in some cases. And some energy providers don't even give you a sellback tariff. So that's just a little pitfall that I'd like to just make you all aware of. If you have any local representatives in your area, please lobby them. Ask them to try and get the smart meters rolled out as soon as possible.
Well, just on that one, Michal, if I can maybe, we
Yeah.
actually didn't get a smart meter starting off. I was actually on with ESB Networks today, and they're starting to roll out in July. And we're actually in for one of those meters, smart meters at that stage. So they're starting to roll them out in July, I was told, as of today.
Well, I'm glad you've heard that, because we were told last year we were rolling them out last year. The date I got was August for this year, but if they're doing them in July, brilliant. Yeah. But just keep lobbying, guys, if you have contacts, because we need to get this done. And Erin spoke about sellback tariffs and shopping around. You know, all the suppliers have different sellback tariffs. You need to be looking at your energy bills and your energy provider every year. Move around, see where the best deal is. Look at the standing charge. Look at the sellback tariff. Look at the unit cost. Use the likes of the search engines like bonkers.ie. See where you can get the best sellback tariff. And shop around. I mean, there's good savings to be made. I mean, I'm going to give you the example of my own house. This month, my ESB bill was minus 42 euros because I'm on a single phase meter. So what I'm generating, I'm getting full credit from the provider for my sellback. Now, I suppose we'll talk about some of the grants. So these are complicated, but I'm trying to disseminate them and take the complication out of them. So the first grant is the support scheme for renewable heating. Now, anyone that's looking to defossilize, if you have existing oil or gas boilers, this is a very good grant. There's two strands to it, I suppose. There's this first strand is there's 30% available for heat pumps. Now, heat pumps comes with a warning. Heat pumps are grand if the fabric of the building is suitable for a heat pump. And I won't go into the technicalities of it, but it's about the HLI of the building, the heat loss indicator. So for a heat pump to be efficient, the envelope of the building has to be decently insulated. Just a little warning. I'm not trying to put anyone off heat pumps, but you'd see a lot of horror stories about heat pumps, people putting in heat pumps, and their ESB bills are through the roof because the building is not insulated properly. The heat pump is running 24/7. Seamus again has the beauty of a new building that's brilliantly insulated, and the heat pump will be absolutely perfect and very efficient. But I'm just kind of putting a warning sign there for all older buildings. Heat pumps come with a warning. So the other SSRH support is for biomass, wood pellet, or biomethane. Biomass is ideal for older community centres. It can use the existing radiator system that's there. You know, sometimes heat pumps, the pipe system might have to be upgraded. The radiators might have to be changed to alurads, which are compatible with heat pumps. So there is a sellback tariff. Well, it's a rebate for 15 years of the life of the SSRH. So according to your usage, you'll do a meter reading every 3 months, and SEEA will give you a rebate based on your usage. So in most cases, over 15 years, you'll get back the full cost of the system. So that's the SSRH scheme. It is a slow enough scheme to get approval for. SEEI don't allow you to do any work until they give you what's called a letter of offer. When you get a letter of offer on the SSRH, you've actually got 18 months to implement the work. The next grant I'm going to talk about is the Community Energy Grant, or otherwise known as the BEC, the Better Energy Community Grant. So this grant is available for communities, it's available for domestics, it's available for local authorities, it's available for businesses, it's available for farmers. It's a kind of I suppose, it's a one-size-fits-all grant. This is made as a group application. So we usually have 10 or 12 beneficiaries, and we have to have 10 domestic homes, and we make it as a group application. We usually make this application 3 times a year. So we're always building grants. We put in the grant application probably takes 10 to 12 weeks for to get approval or a letter of offer. When you get the letter of offer, now you can't start any works until you get the letter of offer. When you get the letter of offer, you then have 12 months to do the work. Downside of any of the SEAI grants is they're all back-end loaded, so you don't actually get the grant funding until all the works are complete. Now, we can make interim payment claims throughout the 12 months. So if you get your works done quick, we can make a payment claim quicker, but you must complete all the works. There's no stage payments if you're doing multiple measures. So what's available? So for the public sector or SMEs, there's 30% funding available. For yourselves, communities, there's 50% grant funding available. Now, just to clarify this, I suppose, if there's 50% grant funding available if there's no economic activity there. So if there's not a shop or a bar, or maybe there's multiple rooms being let out, that would disqualify you for 50% funding and will bring you down to 30% funding. Even if you qualify for the 50% funding, there's only 20% funding for solar PV and for EV chargers. On that grant funding as well, our project management fees are actually grant aided. So if you qualify for 50%, 50% of the grant funding is available for our project management fees. So what can I get on the community energy grant? Well, I can get all fabric upgrades. I can get roof, wall, windows, doors. I can get heating, flood lighting. You know, I know there's a lot of community centres that might have sports pitches in conjunction with them. We can get grant aid for flood lighting and technology and system upgrades. So BMSs and, you know, any of the building controls are covered under the community energy grant. I suppose this kind of shows you the pathway that's involved. So you ring us, which is called the expression of interest. You say, okay, lads, look, I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to get an energy audit done. Usually, you know, just actually at the moment, there's probably about a 6-week wait on an energy audit. One of the energy engineers goes out to your site. They look for your 3 years bills, your electrical and your thermal bills. They analyze the bills. They look at the fabric of the building. They look at all your appliances, and they go back and they crunch all the numbers. And 2 or 3 weeks later, you get an energy audit report. That's usually handed over to me. I speak to you then, and we talk about the energy audit, and we talk about the measures that are suggested on the audit. And again, as Ernan said, we look at the low-hanging fruit. We look at where the best bang for your buck is got. But I would state that the likes of the building fabric, there is long payback times on it. But if you look at it overall, for it to be energy efficient, it's like heating is safe. Unless you do the building, any heat that you're generating is going out through the walls. So the fabric should be looked at, even though the payback periods are long. So then we go ahead and you decide to make a grant submission. We look after all that for you. There's a new grant which was only launched at the start of the year. It's called the BEUS grant, the Business Energy Upgrade Scheme. And I think it's actually the most ridiculous name they could have thought it, because it's not just for businesses, it's for communities, it's for local authorities, it's for schools, it's for everybody. So the measures that are available. Now, this is a very good grant, because if we make an application for you today, we will get approval for you tomorrow. So you get 30% on most measures except solar PV, which is only 20%. Solar thermal is probably something that you don't hear a lot nowadays, but it's just for heating water. Solar PV can also be used for heating water, but it can be used for sell back to the grid. But if you just have demand for water, solar thermal is an option. So wall and roof insulation are covered by the BEUS scheme. But heating controls, pumps, you know, a lot of people might have pumps that are single speed drive, for their water, and they can upgrade them to variable speed drive and save a lot of energy that way. AHUs, air handling units, and any of the big community centres have BMS, so you can actually upgrade your BMS. And there's a 50% grant then for design assistance if you need a mechanical and electrical designer to come in to design your whole system. So that's the BS grant, and I think it's one I think that we will be using a lot more because it's instantaneous approval, and we can apply for each measure individually. And look, I realise that not all the community centres would have the money to go ahead and do this, so they can do it in stages. And as they have a few bob, they can implement the suggestions from the energy audit. And I think this is probably the best infographic I think you could get, because it shows you all the measures, shows you what grant schemes cover the different measures, and maybe it just gives you what I'm trying to say in the last 20 minutes. Just shows it to you in a picture, and this will be circulated to everybody here. Michal has your email address. So that's me. Now I would like to say as well that we work in conjunction with the SEC mentor for Waterford, who's going to talk to you next, Teresa Phelan. So Teresa would be working with us, and if you have any questions, Teresa will pass you on to us. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, Michael. Thank you very, very much for that. It's great to see that there are so many opportunities for funding there, but also to see that the advice and assistance is there, because sometimes when we look at doing something, whether it's in a community hall or whatever else, it can look quite complicated. It can be daunting when we start thinking about applications and paperwork and all of that. So to know that the Southeast Energy Agency can do so much of that for us is brilliant. Okay, moving on to our last speaker then. As Michael said, Teresa Phelan is the new SEC coordinator for Waterford, and she's going to give us a brief introduction to SECs just as an approach for communities to collectively look at their energy usage and look at approaches they can take. Okay, Teresa, over to you.
Thank you, Michal. Thanks, Michael. I love that last slide too. Yeah, and a huge congratulations to Ernan and Seamus. You're a really good example of what we can do to reduce our carbon emissions. So well done. So yeah, I'm just delighted to get the opportunity to introduce myself. Although I'm relatively new in this role, I've learned a lot, and I'm happy to have the opportunity, I suppose, to share the benefits of being part of an SEC. So I suppose, what is an SEC? It's a sustainable energy community. We call it SECs for short. So at its heart, I suppose, a sustainable energy community is about people. It's about small businesses. It's also about organisations all coming together, working together to take control of their energy future, reducing consumption, generating clean power locally, and sharing the benefits. So, but as we talk about sustainability, we must also talk about justice. So the reality is, while some of us can choose to invest in solar panels or home retrofits, many others simply cannot. There's so many families now working from dawn to dusk, to two people working in families just to keep the lights on. So middle income earners and those living in or below the poverty line are being crushed by rising energy bills and the soaring cost of living. So they're not thinking kind of about long-term efficiency. They're just trying to make it really to next month. So that's why a just transition matters to us at SEAI and Waterford Area Partnership. So sustainable energy communities must not only be green, they must be fair. So our aim is to design these SEC communities in a way that includes everyone, especially those who are struggling the most. And so that kind of means like targeting support to energy poor households, funding retrofits and renewables where they're needed the most, creating local jobs in energy and construction that pay fairly and offer dignity to people. So, and yes, it does mean those of us that are in a more advantaged position stepping up, not just out of generosity, but out of solidarity. So what are the benefits then of SECs are very clear: low bills, cleaner air, local investment, and stronger community ties, just getting people connected again, getting people to work collectively together. But the greatest success will be measured not only on the carbon that's saved, but on people lifted out of fuel poverty, out of energy dependence, and into communities that really care for each other. So let's kind of build that energy community that leaves no one behind, because I believe that a truly sustainable future is one that we all share and one that we all deserve. So how do we make it happen? I suppose a simple first step would be to register on the SEEA website, register as an SEC. It's a really simple process. Just by putting in your details, name, email, and registering, and it's free, and using the sports that already exist. So the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland offers a wide range of great resources to help communities take the first step, and I think Michael has really covered all of that there, the grants, all the grants, and given the great details of, and we work very closely, of course, with the SEEA. I think all the acronyms I get a bit mixed up, but the Southeast Energy Agency, which do all the hard work. And I think here in Waterford, actually, we're really fortunate as well to have strong partnership with the Climate Action team at Waterford City and County Council. So it's a shared goal that we're working collectively, I suppose, to contribute towards meeting our national target. So by 2030, which we're hoping to reduce our carbon emissions by 51%. So I suppose together with the national support and the local leadership, and I suppose as a mentor, I'm here to kind of help and guide and support, find out whatever I can. Like I said, I am new to the role, but I'm learning fast, and I'm very enthusiastic about this role as well. So we can turn sustainable energy communities from an idea, I suppose, into a movement that transforms people's lives, improves the quality of people's life by reducing stress, reducing energy costs, and so on. So in short, together we can help to shape a greener, fairer future for all, empowering communities with support such as guidance, training programs, and most importantly, like all the fundings that Michael was talking about there, making use of the funding available for the various initiatives. So I'm really looking forward to working with the existing SECs. I haven't got to meet all of them just yet, and hopefully getting many more communities to join this positive drive for a greener future. And it's not just for us, it's for our future generations to come. So thank you all for your attention, and I'll hand you back to Micheál there now. That's me finished.
Teresa, thank you very much for that. And I'm conscious that we gave you very, very little time to try to get across a very valid and very important solution for our communities, because as Teresa was pointing out there, this isn't just about energy, it's about equity, it's about strengthening communities, making communities more resilient. So look, folks, over the course of the last 40 minutes or so, we've presented you with a lot of different ideas. We've shown you what works from within communities. We've shown you the supports that are available, and I'm going to wrap up this session now in terms of the recording, but anybody that wants to is very welcome to hold on. We're going to have a Q&A session. So just as I'm in the process of wrapping up, I just want to promote our next event, which is the second of our webinars. It will take place the same time next week, Wednesday, 25th of June, 8 o'clock. And this time again with the focus on community halls, centres, sports buildings, whatever it is, looking at other grants and supports, looking at biodiversity, waste and water, gear swaps, all sorts of things, and also kind of ways of getting people more involved in community centres, because in the lead up to this, we asked people what they wanted advice and information on, and that was one of the things that popped up as well, because so many of you are working with quite small teams, and also with possibly kind of working there quite long term. So we want to help you find ways of getting more people involved as well. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.